And yes, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Kitchen. I am so excited about today. I have been wanting to make this one happen for ages, so this is so exciting. Let Rosalie in the room. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to spend our Sunday morning with Cindy Mitchum, Robert Mitchum's niece. She has done an incredible job of promoting the Mitchum family legacy, promoting this terrific book, The Henri Mitchum Boys, and Robert Mitchum's granddaughter, Carrie Mitchum, is a cordon bleu trained chef. And so we're going to talk about Mitchum's food, his family, his films, and also his calypso music, amongst many other things. So please welcome Cindy Mitchum, cocktail and movie expert Rosalie Kicks, publisher, editor-in-chief of Movie John, and cocktail movie expert Liz Long. So I'm so happy to have you guys join me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. Cindy, I always ask this question whenever I get the relative of a famous person. For those of us who grew up in families where they had average everyday type jobs, like when did you figure out that your family had a show business history? Like when did that kind of first dawn on you?
Oh, well, Dad and Bob had different paths. Dad was a character actor, so he was on TV all the time. And in the 60s, you had to go to the theater to see Uncle Bob. So I didn't see him as much as we were just talking. My parents didn't take me to go see Cape Fear or Night of the Hunter.
You would
Um,
be pretty traumatized as a child, let's be honest.
yeah, so they didn't I didn't see Uncle Bob as much as I saw Dad constantly. So I just took it in stride. One of my dad's favorite stories was my brother was 5 years older than I was, and he was a huge Zorro fan. And my brother had the cape and the whole costume. And there was some show that my dad was driving a big 18-wheel truck. And it was Dad wanted to watch himself drive this truck, a little bit of ego there. And so Dad said, Jack, we have to watch Daddy first, and then we can switch it over to Zorro. So my brother's pacing back and forth. He's about 4 years old. And so Dad watches it and he rolls up the truck and then somebody shoots him. My brother chimes in, Daddy's dead. Let's watch Zorro. So we kind of took it in stride.
Not
But
impressed.
I didn't realize how famous they both were, especially Uncle Bob, until much older.
Okay. And tell me about, because when you were in LA recently and we went to dinner, your aunt also was in the industry. And tell us about how your aunt got your dad and Uncle Bob into show business.
Aunt Julie was the oldest of the three of them, and she loved to call herself nightclub dame as she progressed. But she started off at 12, she joined a vaudeville dance team and started tap dancing across the country. The world was a different place then. I can't imagine let a 12-year-old just go off with complete strangers and tap dance. But my grandmother did, and Aunt Julie married a sailor at 15 and got stationed in Long Beach. So when the Depression hit and the family literally lost the farm in Delaware, my Aunt Julie told my grandmother, don't worry about the Delaware winters anymore. Come out to California. So my grandmother had remarried by then and had a small baby. So they loaded up the car and they moved to California. But there wasn't room for Dad and Uncle Bob in the car. So they had to hobo. They were 14 and 16 years old. My grandmother gave each of them a clean pair of socks and a handkerchief and said, see you in California. They had no idea where they were. They had no geographical sense at all. But when they got to Long Beach, and my aunt was living 5 blocks from the beach, that's what they wanted to do at 14 and 16 is go to the beach and girls and swim. And Julie had joined the Long Beach Players Guild, and she really worked hard to get them to join. And they said, why? And she said, the ratio between women and men is in your favor. So they signed up. They had no interest in being actors. They just wanted the women. But that's where Uncle Bob was discovered for the first Hopalong Cassidy film.
Very cool. Liz, Rosalie, feel free to start chiming in with
Okay.
for Cindy.
Hi
Yeah.
there. Oh, I love your outfit.
Thank you.
Rosalie is such a chef today.
Well, I recently started cooking more, and then I feel like when I'm wearing a chef's hat, I'm very professional.
You look
Actually
it.
ordered
You're
several of them.
doing it remarkably well.
Thank you.
And I do not have the chef's hat because I'm just here to make cocktails.
What? Yeah, no, you don't need a chef hat for cocktails.
But
No,
that is important,
it
Liz.
is. Yeah,
Cocktails are
no.
very important.
I've got this one's melting, so I'm probably going to drink it quicker. But I do have another one I was going to make that goes with the chili that we've made. But this one is A Missionary's Downfall, which I featured on my blog, Cinema Sips, with Heaven Knows Mr. Allison. That's probably my favorite Mitchum movie.
One of mine
And
too.
yeah, and it's a great it's a classic tiki cocktail. It's got the color is fantastic. It's got fresh mint in it, rum, honey syrup, peach schnapps. It's a great summer drink, and you blend it over ice, so it becomes kind of a slushy. But I always drink it when I listen to Robert Mitchum's Calypso album. This is my one of my favorite tiki style albums to listen to. But I also have, I don't know, Cindy, if you have listened to this one. I love this one. He has a great cover of the song Sunny in this album. So, yes, I am a huge Mitchum fan, both for his films and his music.
Cindy, tell me the story that you told. Cindy was recently in LA and we got to go to Tonga Hut together, which was kind of the coolest thing like in my life. And Cindy, tell me the story you told me at Tonga Hut about how Robert got into calypso music, how that came about.
Well, when he was down in Trinidad filming Heaven Knows Mr. Allison with Deborah Carr, and the magnetism between those two was just spectacular. Um, he fell in love with the region. He fell in love with the people. He fell in love with the and he didn't want to leave. And he had a little bit too much rum, and Houston actually had to call my Aunt Dottie to come in and rein Uncle Bob in a little bit on that set. And like I said, he didn't want to leave. And Harry Belafonte was just becoming known in the United States. So Uncle Bob, he was always thinking ahead. And he contacted RCA and proposed that he do a Calypso album. And they were intrigued with that idea. But he told them that he needed to stay an extra 2 or 3 months down there so that he could get the dialect right. So they bought it hook, line, and sinker, and they paid for him to stay an extra 2 or 3 months down there. When in fact, Uncle Bob could pick up a dialect in a matter of seconds. So you got to just hang out and get paid and then come back and record this album. So that's how, in Uncle Bob's mind, that's how that album came about. But it's a brilliant album, and I love it.
It really is. And I love his version of Matilda too. Harry Belafonte, of course, made that popular, but Mitchum's version is fantastic too. And it's funny that he would go on to do that strange kangaroo movie, Matilda, later on in his career.
Yeah.
I always think of that movie when I hear his song.
Well, it's my grandmother was very musical, and my great grandfather was musical, but one of his sisters was in the Oslo opera. So it kind of is in the family many generations back on the Norwegian side. But unfortunately, my biological grandfather was killed before my dad was even born. So my father never met him. But from all accounts that we can gather, my grandfather on the Mitchum side, James Mitchum, was very musical himself and loved to sing and loved to tell stories.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get the storytelling aspect from your book. I mean, your father's book. It's really fantastic. Just all of the classic Hollywood stories that are told, the childhood stuff, but then also, I told my husband it's kind of like watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like it really captures that era of LA, and it's just like what fascinating stories that are told, but also in a really fun, accessible way. So I think that storytelling gene definitely got passed down.
Oh, it did. It did. And the the quick-wittedness of the two of them, like the
Mhm.
story of the huge robin that hit Uncle Bob's horse trailer that they just on the spur of the moment come up with, you know, and nothing was contrite with them at all. I don't know if that came from their survival, being hobos, that they had to come up with quick stories. I don't know, but they were both remarkable at it.
Well, I want to ask about the chili because I've read that Robert Mitchum loved chili, and he would even cook for the cast and crew of some of his films. He would do
Yeah,
dishes, I've read.
yeah. He was a normal guy. The only thing that he didn't like, and I remember my father thought it was hysterical. At one point, Uncle Bob was put in the Betty Ford for a little bit of a vacation, and he called Dad and said he was miserable. And Dad said, "Why?" And he said, "They're making me clean toilets." So he didn't clean toilets well, but he did everything else.
Well, the chili, how did the chili come about in terms of did he eat it on location and fall in love with chili? Like, how did he kind of get an interest in it?
He spent a lot of time in Mexico.
Mm.
So he liked Mexican food. That's why the chocolate's in the recipe, um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's probably where that realm came from. I was trying to figure it out, and then I remember because he was a judge in a chili cook-off that my husband and I surprised him and went to, and it was at the let me look and see, the Tropico Chili Cook-Off.
Oh.
And Ernie Borgnine and Billy Barty were the other celebrity judges. Now that's an odd combination right there. Uncle Bob, Billy Barty, and Ernie Borgnine judging chili. I don't know, but it was a fun event. But Uncle Bob loved chili. He loved the spiciness. He loved the whole thing of it.
Well, yesterday you had mentioned to me because you and I have been messaging a lot about the details of this recipe, and you told me that it's got to have chocolate or it's not authentic
Mhm.
to Bob. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then the question for me became, well, what kind of chocolate? There's a zillion different kinds. And yesterday I went to my local Sprouts grocery store and I was going through the chocolate section, and you'd mentioned to me how much you loved Mexico, and I found a Mexican hot chocolate bar. And I thought, you know what? This felt like the right kind of chocolate to put on top of the chili. And I tried a little bite of it last night, and you eat it, and you're like, oh, that's good. Like in 5 minutes, your face turns red. So this felt like the right thing to do.
It'll work. It'll be perfect.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Carrie or Liz that told me that the chocolate has to go in before we were going to cook today. But that's something my husband always puts in chili. So like I just thought it was something that just always went into chili. But it's kind I told my husband about it and he was like, "Of course, you have to put chocolate in it." Which so I
But
guess
that was but
yeah, go ahead.
when I told my cousin Carrie that we were doing this, she said it has to have the chocolate. That was the
Right.
first thing she said. So it has to have the chocolate.
I think this is the first Hollywood kitchen I've ever done where someone in the family is a culinary professional. Tell us about Carrie's career. She's a cordon bleu chef who works for she's a private chef.
Yes. She was an actress. She was the young ingenue in Bold and the Beautiful against Ethan Wayne. And really had a great career going, and she went to a um like a some sort of a event, and she came out of her overseas, and she came out of her hotel and was mobbed by thousands of people. And she
Whoa.
was young, so it overwhelmed her, and she said, "I don't want to do this. I don't like this." So she gave up acting and became went to school and became a cordon bleu chef. And now she's working as a private chef for a young family that is involved in AI. They own an AI company, so I don't need to go any further than that. So they've got some money. Um, and she's loving it. They've got some small kids, and she just goes with them wherever they need to go and is part of the family with them. She loves it. She's in a very good position. But she has also owned her own restaurants. She owned a restaurant in Memphis. She bought a old gas station and converted it and called the restaurant Fuel, which I thought was brilliant. She is a vegan herself, but will cook obviously with meat, but it also has to be organic and you know cruel free and all those things. She is an amazing human being. During Katrina, she was the first volunteer down there and set up an emergency kitchen and did it all herself. She's been caterer on sets. I mean, Carrie's just she's one of my dearest friends and my best friend and my lovely cousin. I adore her.
And by the way, I found out she's got a website and you can actually buy Mitchum chili mix on the website.
Yeah,
Mitchum aprons. It's called
Whoa.
Mitchum's Kitchen. There's a ton of recipes, you guys. So go down the rabbit hole of Mitchum's Kitchen as I did. You will not be sorry.
she's a wonderful lady. I'm so fortunate she's my cousin.
Well, that's so interesting that she's vegan because Rosalie made the chili with but vegetarian style because
Yeah,
she
because
also
you had asked me to share what I use. So I did keep the package. It's the Scardine like beef cubes, which I ended up kind of cutting up because they were a little too what I use today for the chili.
Well, I'm all about adaptability. I think everybody's health and needs should be come first. So whatever works for someone else, I think is
Right.
great. And so many of these recipes we make on Hollywood Kitchen are very adjustable. So you can always find an alternate way to make it.
Well, I
Think
was going to
that goes-
say another celebrity that I've adjusted like recipes is Vincent Price. That was another cookbook that I've been able to adapt. So I agree. Usually it's pretty easy to make adjustments.
That's a great cookbook too, the Vincent Price
Yeah.
cookbook.
Has Carrie ever thought about publishing a cookbook? I mean, not that she has like time, but still.
She probably has thought about it, but like you said, time-wise, she's always doing something. She is never one that can just sit idle. Even if she's busy, she's got to be doing something else. And always humanitarian based as well. Um, she was doing a podcast with health issues with a friend of hers. Um, and when my granddaughter got sick, I was in a daze, and my granddaughter was diagnosed as with um, a brain tumor, and we were just in a daze. And Carrie immediately set up a GoFundMe account and got everything arranged and got the Airbnb for us next to the hospital. I mean, she was doing things that I wasn't even thinking about. So that's Carrie. She always doing something that's helping somebody else. I'm still working on getting her on the show with you, Carrie.
Well, there's also the Mitchum's hash recipe. There's again the eggnog recipe. There's plenty of well to go back to here.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what was the first Robert Mitchum film you ever saw?
The first one I remember seeing was Night of the Hunter on TV, and for some reason it didn't scare me. Maybe because I knew him, but Cape Fear, like we were saying, scared the daylights out of me, but Night Hunter didn't scare me. I don't know why, but I remember watching it on our TV at home.
Rosalie, what was your first Mitchum film?
It's funny. I think mine was also Night of the Hunter. And I became introduced to the film actually in film school. A teacher had shown a clip of it. And it was when Robert was actually like approaching the porch. Um, and, it's like the scene with his knuckles, and you kind of see the love and the hate on them. And it really stuck with me. And then after the class, I had to go find that movie. I needed to watch it. Because when I went to film school, I hadn't been very familiar yet with a lot of classic film. So that was kind of my introductory to him. And then I became obsessed I needed to watch all of the Robert Mitchum. I think the next one I watched was Cape Fear, which also scared me as well. I find it much more terrifying than the remake.
Exactly. The
Yeah,
the
he's scary
I
in
keep
that.
getting pride. Yeah, Pursued surprised me to watch that.
Yeah.
The Western Pursued. His acting in that one really impressed me.
Liz, did you just watch Cape Fear?
Yes, just last night for the
Okay,
first
I
time.
thought so.
Yeah. Because I made the chili last night in the crock pot, and then I was like, well, I want to, because it's Texas, I'm not boiling anything on the stove for a long periods of time. So I made it in the crock pot, and then I was like, well, I want to try it tonight. So Cape Fear just hit the Criterion channel, so I'm like, perfect. And I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was like really well done. I have not seen the De Niro version yet, so
Don't
I don't.
don't waste your
I'm sure
time.
it will pale in comparison.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think my first Mitchum film though was Holiday Affair, believe it or not.
Okay.
Just because like with my blog, Cinema Sips, Christmas is a big time on the blog. Everybody wants Christmas movies and what cocktails to drink with those. So I had done the holiday movies we all know and have watched a million times. And then it was like, well, I'm searching for more the content that I can put on here. And Holiday Affair came up on my radar. And I fell madly in love with Robert Mitchum and that he was just so dreamy. I did not love the child in the movie, every time I watch it, I'm texting Rosalie and I say, this kid, she should just run off with Robert Mitchum and leave him behind.
Which I do have to interject here. It was so funny the first time we went to Turner Classic Film Festival. The child, well, he is now obviously an older man, was one of the guests. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go see him because I love Holiday Affair. And Liz was like adamantly, I am skipping that.
you just didn't care for that kid.
No, and I must say, like, I'm sure the actor is a lovely person. I'm sure he was just doing his job. Maybe it was the character that I didn't like so much. But no, I do love that movie mostly because, like, Robert Mitchum working in a toy department at Christmas. I mean, it's the best.
Actually, both Dad and Bob love children. And going back to Night of the Hunter, Charles Lawton didn't love children.
Mm,
And they terrified Lawton. So Uncle Bob rescued all children in Night Hunter.
wow.
Wow. I have a question for you, Cindy. Okay, so my whole family lives in Savannah, Georgia, except me. And they shot Cape Fear in Savannah. So I have retraced Mitchum's steps.
Oh.
I've stood in front of the Armstrong house. I've stood in front of Forsyth Park Fountain like he did in the movie. Robert Mitchum has kind of an interesting history with Savannah. So can you talk about that?
Sure. Um, People know that he was on Unchained, but they don't know all the details of it. And Bob was 15 years old when he took off on a little expedition by himself from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And you don't think of him. I mean, it shocked me the first time I saw the pictures. There's a picture of him in the book. They actually had ropes for belt. They were that poor. And the sexy walk, I was Buck Taylor last week, and he kept saying, all the Swears, Mitchum's was the best. And I said, that's because he had rickets. His legs were bowlegged, rickets. So he was starved to death. He's so strong, kind of like a looking character. And he got picked up for vagrancy in Savannah. It was in jail. And when he went before the judge on Monday, the judge started addressing him as someone who was accused of robbing a shoe store. So Uncle Bob stopped and said, excuse me, Your Honor, but when did this alleged robbery take place? And the judge said, on Friday. And Uncle Bob, very brave 15-year-old, said, Your Honor, if you check your records, you've been housing me since Wednesday. And it embarrassed the judge because people started giggling in the courtroom. So he sends Uncle Bob to a hanging. And we're talking that, the action with shackles and his ankles and a pickaxe and the striped outfit. And all I keep seeing Morgan Woodward is mere sunglasses. But Uncle Bob managed to escape. And he swam to the swamps, and because of the open doors in his developed gangrene. So by the time he got to my grandma, the doctor wanted to amputate the leg. But my grandmother said, no, he went out in the woods and got earth and things to make Holt's and strangled the leg. But years later, he got this fabulous script. And he told the studio, I want to do it. We're going to be filmed in Savannah, Georgia. And he said, I have a bit of a problem. I'm a fugitive in Georgia. So the studio had to pay restitution to the state of Georgia so that Bob could go back and film. And that he did, so we wouldn't have fear.
Wow.
I've got a few questions rolling in. First off, I think Warren Kroon, your cousin, is watching. Let's see. Benjamin in Germany says, I love the chemistry between Mitchum and Jane Russell in their movies and that they were friends in real life.
Friends till death. Yeah. Jane, the scene that I did, Jane is on it. Jane and my dad actually worked together on a couple of TV shows. I still from that. And Jane was a wonderful, wonderful lead in her all years. She became she taught Bible study at her church, which you don't get her Russell. The mom should teach Bible study, but she did.
My friend Monique in Amsterdam is saying, any memories? Does Mitchum have any memories of River of No Return with Marilyn Monroe?
Oh, well, Uncle Bob had a very soft spot for Marilyn. There was no hanky panky going between them. He would the only he would ever say to me, she was a very sensitive kid. She should have been in the business. And he'd be enough funny story when they were doing the tour get Full River of No Return. They were on a private plane and they were ready to land. And Bob said, are you about ready, honey? Because when she broke her leg, filming River of No Return on the raft scene, she slipped on the rod and broke her leg. And she said, "Hold on a minute, I have to put Marilyn on," and put all of Marilyn Monroe makeup on. But before that, she wasn't Marilyn, she was Nora. So he was very fond of her in a brotherly kind of protective way.
Well, I've heard stories about how Robert Mitchum would not tolerate people being mistreated on the set. There's a story I saw Eddie Moeller talk about recently. I rewatched Angel Face on Turner Classic Movies, and Eddie was introducing it. And he said that I think it was Otto Preminger was horrible to Gene Simmons, and that
Mm-hmm.
there was a scene in the movie where I think what he has to slap Jean or something like that. And Mitch,
Yeah.
that Preminger kept saying, keep slapping her. And then Mitchum went, oh, like this. And he walked up and just slapped the
And
daylights out of Preminger. And I was like,
no, they didn't tolerate the kind of thing. They what they were very firm in their beliefs that everyone's kind to one another. That's why Dad wrote the book. He refused to put anything in there that hurt or embarrassed anybody that was still alive. He said that's pointless. There's enough cruelty in the world. We don't need to put in there. Put in joy and the happiness. But they were very protective. And there's another very famous story of Uncle Bob. He went on a set and he went in and his dressing room was filled with fruit basket and the coffee and everything else, nothing to the crew. So Uncle Bob walked out of his trailer and he said, I'm gonna go get some coffee. Everybody should have coffee. And they said, well, you have coffee. No, they don't have coffee. And he left. So he didn't back. So the next day he came back and it was the same thing. Uncle Bob did again. By the third day, they figured out they better have the table of nuts and coffee ready. Else they're going to lose Bob again. It's kind of underwritten law, Mitchum's law, that you got to have a table for the coffee. You don't just select one star, treat them well, and treat everybody else and ignore them. He wouldn't tolerate it.
Rosalie, Liz, do you all have any questions for Cindy?
Trying
I
to
don't want to
think.
hog her time because I feel like
No,
she
no,
always
no.
at dinner went to Tonga Hut.
Well,
So you guys kind of ask a lot of questions.
so I was glad that you brought up something about an intro from TCM from Eddie. There was an intro a while back. I think it was like 2 years ago when Robert was Star of the Month. And one of the facts I remember one of the hosts saying was that Robert liked to knit. And I was wondering if that was true or not. Do you know if he actually knitted?
I have never seen him knit.
Okay. I
Um,
was wondering that because I tried looking it up after. Apparently, like they said that he knitted during one of the films he was making, and it just seemed really out of character.
I I I would doubt that. I can will check
Yeah.
here. I would doubt that. The one thing that amused me that did was a saxophone from his youth,
Oh,
and occasionally he would come out and play saxophone for you. But
okay.
that's a little obscure. But knitting, I'm not sure of.
Okay.
Did he have a favorite cocktail or a favorite drink? What was his go-to?
Um, at one point it was Chivas,
Hmm.
and then another point he was into vodka, I think, because that was easy. We're out at a Mexican restaurant in Santa Barbara, and he had a big glass, and it was empty. So the poor waiter came by, busboy came by and filled it with water, and it didn't fill with vodka. And Bob took a big swig of it and was not. I'm really bad at that, but yeah, it was kind of you just trying to do right and was yeah. So he and vodka. There, there wasn't anything their dad or Bonnie didn't like.
Okay.
Question about the recipe, actually, because I do want to talk about that. By the way, again, as I have mentioned, I cannot recommend enough the website Mitchum's Kitchen, which you can see right here on my phone. And the chili consists, and Carrie's very thorough in the notes, which I need all the help I can get around here. 1 pound beef, half cup of green pepper, half cup of celery. I've never had celery in chili. That's very interesting. 1 cup of onion, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar or molasses. I've never heard of that going in chili. I thought that was very interesting. 1 teaspoon of garlic, 2 tablespoons of parsley, 2 tablespoons of cilantro, a can of fire roasted tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 1 cup of water, 4 tablespoons of Mitchum's chili seasoning, and 1 can of beans. So I never heard of the brown sugar or molasses. Is that a Mitchum thing, or is that just something that was a normal chili ingredient?
Mm.
It was normal in my house, but
Okay.
I don't know about the rest of the world.
I've put sugar in, not like brown sugar or molasses, but I have put sugar in. 'Cause like our chili is kind of more, it's on like the bolognese spectrum. Like we actually like eat it over pasta as well. So maybe that's where like the sugar comes in. I don't know. But I did make this yesterday in the crock pot and it is delicious. I don't know if you can see it
Yes,
here,
I am
but
with you on the crock pot. It was 97 degrees in Los Angeles yesterday. So putting something on the stove, if I do that, my entire apartment is the temperature of the stove.
yes, yes,
So I have used my trusty crock pot. This entire apartment smells like Mitchum's chili. For
yes.
those who've asked on the messages, Close Up is actually resting in the other room underneath the air conditioner. So he'll probably make an appearance at some point, but he's very happy through the AC. I guess
He's
Cindy's
lucky.
internet went out. Hopefully she'll be
Yeah.
back in a
Well,
second.
I'll make a quick cocktail while we wait for her. I
Yeah.
came up with this like to go with the chili. This is not like Robert Mitchum's recipe or anything, but I thought it would go nicely. It's just a rum old fashioned. Again, I love that Tiki album, so I had to do something with rum. So this is just 2 ounces of dark rum and just a quarter ounce of simple syrup and 2 dashes of these are Aztec chocolate bitters. So it goes nicely with that chocolate and the chili. And then 1 dash of orange bitters. And super easy. You just stir. And my ice has gotten a little melty, so this is kind of a watered down version. And then I just have one big ice ball in my glass. And
The
it's
large
just a
ice
nice,
ball
easy drink.
is the large ice ball a new trend? Because I've kind of noticed that and when I go to places lately.
Yeah, it's nice because it chills the drink without diluting it really quickly. So I actually have the fridge that makes the big ice. That's called Craft Ice. It's an LG fridge. I love it. If anyone is thinking about getting this refrigerator, I absolutely love the ice balls. I use them all the time. And another trend that you'll probably see in restaurants is the dried citrus on a drink. I make my own. I have a dehydrator. So I just drop that in. And if you wanted to, you could also sprinkle a little chocolate on top. This actually reminded me of like an espresso martini vibe. It has that like sweet after dinner drink. So it goes fantastic with the chili and with Cape Fear, as I found out last night.
By the way,
And
I did add beans to my chili, and she said Carrie Mitchum's instructions said to add the beans at the last 30 minutes or so, roughly.
mm,
So I did that, and then I'm now going to take the Mexican chocolate bar, and it said something about grating it. So I'm going to kind of grate it while we chat here over the chili.
Okay.
and Rosalie, how are you on your prep? Did you do this on the crock pot or are you?
So I'm actually going to start mine up on the stove.
Mhm.
I have everything chopped, so I'm going to start going. So I might twist my
Yeah.
camera a little bit just so that you can still see me. Um, but yeah, I mean, pretty much you had asked me about making it vegetarian. I think the only thing I really changed in the recipe was probably using the beef. Instead
Mhm.
of beef, I used the Gardein cubes. But
Mhm.
everything else, I'm just doing straight from the recipe. And we make chili all the time. I've never done it though with these beef cubes. Most of the time, we just use like Morningstar, like ground
Mhm.
beef. Um, I think that it's called like crumble.
Mhm.
So we usually just do that. And kind of similar to what you were saying, we will do like different variations. Sometimes we'll put it over noodles
Mhm.
with like cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
I think that's like an Ohio thing.
It's a Cincinnati. So when we were talking
Okay.
about chocolate and chili, like that's, I know that is Cincinnati chili. And it's served over spaghetti with a giant pile of cheese on top from Skyline Chili in
Yes.
Cincinnati. That's the only other time I've had chocolate and chili. But I'll tell you, I think I'm going to start using it now because I had it, like I tasted the chili without the chocolate in, and I'm like, that's fine. And then
Right.
I put the chocolate in and I liked it a lot more. I used like a very bitter, like bitter dark chocolate. I think it was 85% cacao, so it was very dark. I
Yeah,
really could notice a difference.
so I went over to the Acme, which is a grocery store by us here. It doesn't always have the greatest selection when it comes to like baking items, but I am going to be using this Ghirardelli
Mm.
cocoa, which we have used before in our chili. Yeah, it's funny. I had not grown up eating chili. So until I met my husband Ben, that was when I first started having it. I just thought chocolate was part of it. So I think it's really funny that it's like something, I guess, kind of new to people.
Well, I grew up in Dallas, Texas originally before my family moved to Savannah, Georgia. And I had never heard of putting chocolate in chili. I was quite surprised, or sugar for that matter, so I
Mhm.
was quite surprised by it, but I was like, hey, everybody's from different places and does things differently. And Cindy's gonna rejoin us here. So I'm gonna try to taste some of the Mitchum chili right now.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Hmm.
That's okay. I'll just sit on this.
Hey, we're eating
Welcome
the
back.
chili now.
I'm back.
Mm. Mm. It's
Yeah, I'm loving this chili.
my God. Jenny
What?
Hamilton, one of my heroes and key inspirations, she's been blogging and making celebrity recipes about 20 something years. She's a film archivist in England and she does a website called Silver Screen Suppers. And she was a big inspiration to me. And she actually loves Mitchum chili so much, she makes it like a lot. So I get why now. This is really flavorful.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, I ended up putting a little extra cayenne in mine because I like it a little spicier. And it's nice to know that your uncle did as well.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
Um, Warren, your cousin Warren Kroon reminded me that if you go to Mitchum's Kitchen website, there are Mitchum aprons you can buy, Mitchum chili spice, and he says the proceeds go to autism research.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
That's
I said, Carrie
awesome.
is a big philanthropist in that sense.
It's fantastic.
Mm. Y'all talk, and I'm just gonna eat chili.
Well, I was saying, but
What
oh yeah,
cocktails do you work
Cindy
with?
missed my cocktail here. I made a chocolate rum old fashioned to go with the chili. It's just got dark rum, simple syrup, some Aztec chocolate bitters. So I think your uncle would have loved those.
Where did you find
And
those?
I just at the liquor store they sell them. So like Total Wine, I don't know if they have that where you live. And then just a dash of orange bitters, stir it up over a giant ice ball, and it's just a really nice kind of after dinner drink. But it goes great with this chili because of the chocolate.
Mm. Send us the recipe, Liz, so I can
I will. I
Yeah.
will.
I want it. I would tell that one.
Now we can't really have a Mitchum conversation without talking about the noir. And out
Mm.
of the past, much like Cape Fear and Night of the Hundred, that is one for the ages. That is probably, I would say, one of the defining noirs like ever. So, did Robert have any thoughts about that movie or any of the favorite films he made in the noir genre? Because he seems to be have been genetically engineered to be a noir star.
My husband asked him a question once. I said, how did you get involved in all the noir? And I said, I was the actor who did Invisible Lights.
Hey, what?
He's Uncle to husbands. I was just the actor, so did Invisible Lights end up in noir. But he characters evoke that. I think that how he used really understood that, and that's he used him so much when he was RKO. You like that, really?
This is so good. Liz, keep asking questions. I'm just gonna eat.
Well,
Oh.
few people know that things about Uncle Bob working with Howard Hughes. Thing, Uncle Bob was the first actor to make $1 million a year,
Mm,
and he did that doing 29 films that year.
wow.
Let
It's just
that sink in for a
amazing.
second. And at one point, Hughes had him separate movies at the same time.
Wow.
So Hughes with the helicopter and helicoptered him to the second set, change wardrobe, and then do it again the third set. Now, I don't know if actors today A, tolerate that, or B, be able to keep three characters in three different movies in
Hmm.
one day.
It's
But Uncle Bob
incredible.
did.
And he like I
So,
noticed too, like he's so skilled with accents. I wonder if those three films, like did he have to do different accents at the time? Like I just can't even imagine.
well, probably, and it seemed to Jerry that the reason that he and my dad so good is they realized at a very young age if they had the same dialect as people around them wouldn't pick it up for vagrancy.
Mm-hmm.
They would blend in so that they could pick up a dialogue instantly, which I was so fun that he got RDA to pay for him to stay in Trinidad long to the album because he had it nailed before I asked him.
Right.
But another thing with artists is when I got arrested, were five finished films came. So it was quite a gamble. Hughes could have lost a fortune if Uncle Bob lost favor with the public. Now, it would have been
Hmm.
five films that would,
Hmm.
but Uncle Bob refused to Howard just take care of it and sweep it under the carpet. Uncle Bob insisted on it and said, I didn't do anything wrong.
Hmm.
So he insisted going through the process, and fortunately, the fans embraced him even more than and I felt he had for major successes. But
Hmm.
it was again Howard to take Uncle Bob wasn't let it go another way.
Now, was Holiday Affair kind of in response to that, like trying to rehab his image with the public? I think I read that somewhere, but I don't know if that was accurate.
That would kind of make sense to make him look like a lighthearted
Hmm.
boy. But the articles in the interview with Uncle Bob where people are asking why he wrote everything. He really didn't have to know about any. He cared about his work, his craft, but he didn't care about his persona, his image,
Hmm.
what who he was. He was on a green singers.
Hmm. Rosalie, how's your
So
chili coming?
Good. So I have the onions browning right now. So I know you guys did it in the crock pot, so it probably is a little different. Did you just throw like everything in?
I brown the onions first.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then I brown the meat and then I like everything that had to be like browned, then I threw it into the crock pot.
Okay. It's funny. We have done very little with the crock pot, but I understand living in Texas, like why you would do that.
Mm.
Today is actually, so I'm in Pennsylvania. It's not that hot today.
Mhm.
So I got lucky.
Let's
But
all go to Rosalie's house.
I know.
is it really hot where you are, Carrie?
It was 97 in LA yesterday,
Oh,
according to my phone.
yeah, it's actually been cooler here the past week, which has been really nice because there was a couple weeks where it was like close to 100 and the humidity is just, it kills
Oh,
me.
Mm.
I
yeah. Well,
cannot with the humidity.
I
Same.
was outside in
I only browned
what?
the meat on mine. I just browned the meat and then I just put
Okay.
everything else in the crock pot. But I put definitely some more water because I did the crock pot thing overnight.
Mm.
And yeah, it's God, it's so flip. Look, I'm eating a ton of it. I'm just sitting here eating one. Mhm. I did whip up some cornbread because I feel like that is the best thing to eat with chili.
Mhm.
What close think about it?
But a close up, think of it. Um, it's funny because sometimes when I cook, he will be all over the kitchen and I'm stressed because I don't want cat hair and saliva in the food, especially if it's for other people too. And last night he just laid on the couch and slept the whole time I was cooking. And I was like, whoa. And then today it's so hot and the bedroom's a lot cooler. So he's laying on the bed under the air conditioning today. And it's a rare day. He's not, I could try to bring him in here if you guys want to see him, but he seems kind of chill today, which is a little bit unusual. Mm.
Maybe he doesn't like chili.
He's very food obsessed, actually.
It's no deviled egg. The last episode I did was the deviled eggs, and he went nuts for those.
Hilarious.
That did not go well at all. You know what's funny about that episode? I had I had a couple other things I was gonna make that day too for Carol Landis, and he acted so outrageous on and off camera about the eggs. I had egg all over the table. He's running around the apartment with an egg in his mouth. I just gave up. I'm like, you know what? I'm stressed. I'm not even gonna try to make all the other stuff I got to make because I can't deal right now. So I told Rick, I go, we'll just have
That's why I said you reminded me of Mom and Julia Child Day.
Aw, well, I'm not as perfect as they were. I'm just kind of trying. Mm. Oh, this is so good. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Wow. It's funny because sometimes on Hollywood Kitchen, I'll make a recipe and I'm like, it's like, it's okay, or oh, I'll never eat that again. And then there's some I make that I'm like, okay, this is a repeat thing I shall be making. And this falls under this is a repeat thing. Like this is
Yeah,
really good. Like this is the top echelon of Hollywood Kitchen recipes.
Now,
absolutely.
did you put anything on top of it, like cheese or anything, or?
I did on the Mitchum's Kitchen blog. Carrie
Yeah.
Mitchum mentions putting like a dollop of sour cream, some little
Yes.
diced onions, and cheese, which I put the sour cream and the cheese on top, just a little bit.
Okay.
But
I did Fritos on mine because in Texas,
That
like
you're in
Frito
Texas,
pie.
you have to.
Yeah.
You have
Well,
to.
today, because you mentioned, Liz, last night that you were trying it with the Fritos, and then this morning I ran out and got Fritos because I was like, you know what, that is a really good idea. We usually have like a corn chip, but
Mhm.
when you said Fritos, it made me hungry for them. So
Yeah.
I went out and got them.
But here's years and years and years ago, my husband won a radio contest, and it was a question about the Wizard of Oz, and he won. So his prize was the two of us would be flown anywhere in the continental U.S. we wanted to go, and hotel and all that fun stuff. So I actually called up Uncle Bob and I said, "Where would you suggest we go? Where's your favorite place to go?" And he said, "San Antonio, by all means, go to San Antonio." So there you go. He did
Wow.
like, Tex-Mex food.
That's fantastic. Now, Cindy, I wanted to ask about your father's experience in Dirty Harry. I just discovered this movie this year. I
You're a
loved
late
it.
bloomer.
I am. I am. I mean, I'm on the young side. My dad loved this movie, and I just thought it was another like because the poster is Clint Eastwood with the big gun, and I'm like, all right, it's another one of Dad's shoot 'em up movies. Okay. I did not know it was like a serial killer movie, which is now very trendy. So,
Well,
but I loved it. I
yeah,
loved your father's performance in it.
thank you. There's three Dirty Harrys. There's
Yes.
Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, and the Enforcer. And unfortunately, Dad's character, spoiler alert, doesn't make it through the Enforcer.
Yeah.
And I have gotten feedback that is hilarious that people were really upset. They were hoping there'd be a spin-off with Dad's character.
I could see that. Yeah, he's great in it. So
And
that's too
well,
bad.
there's a monologue in the Dirty Harry. That's the thing about Harry.
Mhm.
Harry hates everybody. That 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 could never been filmed in today's world. And
Mm.
imagine how tragic that would be if that film didn't exist.
I know. It's so good. I went through because I went to San Francisco this summer on vacation. So I wanted to watch all of these San Francisco movies, and Dirty Harry ended up on the list. And I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. I loved it. 5 stars on Letterboxd. I'll have to watch
I
all the
was really
sequels.
fortunate. I was very fortunate because all three of those films were shot in May, which is my birthday.
Oh, so did you
So
get to go to the set?
I got to go on set in San Francisco those three times for my birthday. And
That's
then,
amazing.
go to Aliotto's with Dad and it was great fun. It was so I know exactly when each of them were shot because it was on my birthday.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, one of my friends now in the circle of doing events and things is Rudy Ramos,
Mm.
and I was on set watching that scene when Clint tells Dad. Dad says, "What do they want?" And Clint says, "They want a car." And I'm going to give it to him. And he drove the car through the liquor store. Rudy was one of the liquor store robbers. So I've known Rudy for a long time.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just loved how the book has all of these fantastic stories. So, like, I thought I was reading about, like, gonna read just about their childhood and then maybe like Robert Mitchum's career. I love that your dad included so much of his career in it as well, because it is such a fascinating look at Hollywood. And it goes beyond, the Robert Mitchum movies we all know. Like your dad was in so many wonderful projects too. And I just feel like you get so much reading this book.
Thank you. Yeah, people don't realize that first of all, a lot of people are surprised they were brothers. And Dad did 800 TV episodes and 60 feature films. So Dad was in a bit of every, and
Mhm.
now, like on the Western Channel and Me TV, I have people on Facebook that constantly say, "I just saw your dad in Wagon Train. I just saw him in Cimarron," and they send me, screenshots of what they see,
Mhm.
which is fun. It's kind of like Dad's Where's Waldo because he was
Yep.
everywhere. He was a chameleon, which is the highest praise you can give a character actor is that you didn't know it was him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Dad always said that he wouldn't have traded places with Bob for anything because Bob was a prisoner of his fame.
Mm.
And Dad, people would look at him and say, "Don't you look familiar?" And Dad would say, "I'm your wife's butcher." Dad would make up some story and they would be happy with it. But I actually had my first date with my husband because Uncle Bob called me up and asked me if I would take his friends Mavis and Lex, who are in the book, um, to Disneyland because they wanted to go. And he said, "I can't go. They'll take more pictures of me than Mickey Mouse." So
Mhm.
I asked my husband if he would go with me, and we took Mavis and Lex to Disneyland for the first time. Uncle Bob was very limited in what he could do, but
Mhm.
Dad could do anything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But
Warren
it was,
Croon is asking me, he said, let's see, Cindy, please talk about Bob in prison. If you don't want to go down that road, we don't have to. He's just asking.
no, no, it's when I was in junior high, I had a dear friend who lived a few blocks away, but I would have to go to the end of my block and then turn on Victory Boulevard and go down to her street and turn down her street. And on my corner was an apartment building. And there was I don't even know, he was probably in his early 20s. I don't know. And I'm in junior high. And sometimes he'd be out on his patio and I would say hello. And as the summer progressed, it'd be stop and chat for a few minutes. But that was about it. And I came home from junior high and I found this guy sitting in my living room, which was kind of a shock, with my mother and my father. My dad was just sitting there staring at him. And my mother was from Nebraska, so she was very polite, shall we say. And evidently, this man had, on his own, I had no idea, had come in and to announce to my parents that he was in love with me and wanted to marry me. And my mother said, well, Cindy has a few things to do first, like graduate junior high and go on to high school and maybe go to her junior prom and graduate high school. And he said, oh, I'll wait. And Dad's still not saying anything. And I'm just like a deer in the headlights, like, what is going on? So he leaves, and next time I go to my friend's house, I walk by the apartment and his cars are all gone. And I looked in his apartment, it was totally cleaned out. There was nothing in there. And I just thought, oh, well, he moved. I didn't put anything together. And years later, a gentleman named Steve Moriarty, who had done Winds of War with Uncle Bob, said, do you know what happened to that guy? And I said, no, he just disappeared. And he said, Dad and Bob knocked on his front door. And when this poor man, unsuspecting man, opened up the door, Dad and Bob were both standing there. And in unison, they said, we don't mind going to prison. And he disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be a terrifying thing, to have the two of them standing, and they wouldn't have minded. They didn't tolerate that. Now, as a grandmother, I'm going, oh, he was kind of a creepy pedophile, but I didn't see that at that point.
Mm.
But they sure did.
Now, was your uncle, how long was the marijuana sentence for? Was it 30 days, 60 days? I can't remember.
I think it was 60 in the book, but
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And he was sentenced to, it's called the Wayne Honor Farm, Wayside Farm.
Okay.
And it's still in existence. It's just north of the San Fernando Valley. And when he was there, he got a little upset that the guards had all their gym and stuff, but there's nothing for the prisoners, inmates to do. So he donated a whole gymnasium for
Wow.
the inmates once he got out. And my poor brother, obviously years and years later, was getting ready to go to college, and he got pulled over because a car that had been ruined, somebody else ran into his car and destroyed his car. He'd forgotten that he'd gotten a fix-it ticket for a smoking engine because the car was destroyed when this girl ran into his car. So that had gone to warrant. So my brother had a warrant out for his arrest, and he's going off to college. And so they put him in jail. My dad's in a panic, and he goes down for the hearing, and the judge was in a bad mood and sentenced my brother to days in county jail. Nobody wants to go to LA County Jail, especially a 19-year-old kid. And so Dad stood up and tried to offer money to the court, and the judge said, if you don't sit down, I'm going to put you in there for contempt. So my dad had to sit down. So my brother got shipped off to county, and it was overflowing. So they sent Jack to the same Wayside Farm where Uncle Bob was. And the guards there looked at him and said, Mitchum. And Jack knew. He said, oh, yeah. And so they offered him to go work in the fields. And Jack said, sure. But then they said, well, you got to go and shave your head because then they could distinguish you if you're out and about, so that if you ran away, you'd have this shaved head. And Jack said, "No, I'm going to college next week. I'm not going to go to a strange town with no hair." So they put him in a cell with a guy that was a convicted murderer. So here's my poor brother because they still had a grudge against Uncle Bob and they took it out on my poor brother.
God.
Yeah, my mother cried and cried. Oh, it was a mess.
It's really amazing how incredibly well Mitchum's career rebounded because at a lot of studios after a pot bust, that would have been like a death knell to a career. And it seems like Howard Hughes just put him right back to work the minute he got off the honor farm.
Well, yeah, because as I said earlier,
Yeah.
he's had a lot of money invested in
Oh
Bob.
yeah.
And it was either it was going to blow up or it was going to blow forward. And it went forward and onward and upward. And I think that the general public embraced Bob for his integrity and not cowering and not letting the studio sweep it under the rug. It was a complete setup. I'm not denying Uncle Bob never smoked pot, but that particular incident was a setup.
I wonder if that inspired the movie premiere Pot Bust in LA Confidential. Because it
I'm
was
sure
kind of
it
set
did.
up and
Uncle
everything.
Bob
Yeah.
was Uncle Bob was the first celebrity ever arrested. And the truth of the matter was Uncle Bob was the targeted poster boy by Henry Anslinger. They wanted to find somebody to show the evils of marijuana,
Mm.
and they handpicked Uncle Bob. So they set it up. They got Aunt Julie involved in it and told her that she needed to help corral Bob away from the people, the bad crowd he was hanging out with, which is Sinatra and Louis Armstrong. Come on. But Julie bought it and it happened. But Bob, again, going back with what I said, Dad would never say anything unkind. Dad and Bob would never say anything against their sister or my grandmother or anybody else that was involved in making that arrest happen while they were all alive. They would never, especially the women, they would never say anything to hurt them.
It's kind of funny about how Marilyn, around a few years before, I think after the Pop Bus incident, she had the nude calendar photos, and when those surfaced, I think the studio was pressuring her to deny it was her or whatever. And Marilyn was honest and said, I needed the money, I did nothing wrong. And
Yeah,
sometimes I think as a PR strategy, admitting culpability and downplaying it is actually so much more effective than denying it and trying to act
I
it in
don't think
half.
it was
Yeah.
Dad or Bob and Marilyn didn't think of it as a PR stunt. It was their
No.
integrity.
But
Mhm.
they didn't
That's
play the PR game of being like, oh no, it wasn't me and blah blah blah.
no.
They just
Well,
owned
Right.
that's why, as you ladies all know, Uncle Bob was only nominated for one Oscar for G.I. Joe.
Hmm.
And because he wouldn't play the game, he wouldn't buy the billboards on Sunset Boulevard. He wouldn't put the ads in Variety magazine out of his own pocket. That they wouldn't play with him because he wouldn't play their way. So he didn't care. He knew he had given his best, and he knew that his peers admired him and that his fans admired him, and that's all he cared about. He didn't care about the Academy.
are there any modern actors that you feel have that kind of Mitchum persona and or integrity?
Not
We're
off the
all sitting
top of
here
my head.
silent. There's not.
I'm like,
Yeah,
do movie stars exist anymore?
it's
I don't know.
well, it there as Carrie, as you know, I'm working to develop the book into a limited series. And it has to be a limited series because, as all of you ladies have said, there's so many beautiful stories and there's so many amazing characters that cross paths with the two of them in their lives. Not just famous people, but people who helped form and shape the men that they became.
Hmm.
That that has to be shared. And if it was a feature film, like with the Jimmy Stewart film, they would take one moment, and I bet you it would be the pot bust, and that would be it. And there's so much more to the two of them than that. And that's why it's got to be a series so that we can embrace these people. And the book has been said to be a love story between the two brothers unknowingly chasing the American dream, which I think fits it pretty darn well. So it's they were amazing people, and the people that they knew were amazing, and I was very blessed to have known most of them.
Wow. And there's many stories that are nuanced and complicated, and they need time to kind of play out. And this is
Hmm.
definitely that.
Well, that's the lasting friendships that they had too. There was a handful of people that were really their inner circle. And it didn't matter how famous Bob got or what Dad did or what their friend did, that bond still remained. Going way back to Long Beach with Elmer Jones and Dick Hutton. Um, I have recently connected with Dick Hutton's daughter, and she sent me pictures from Long Beach of our them, and then she sent me pictures of Dad visiting Dick in the 80s. So that's a long span, 50-year friendship.
This is just so cool. I can't tell you how excited I've been about this episode because I just love him so much. I love his work so much. And anytime I am lucky enough to see these films of his on the big screen, I try to do it because
Oh,
I feel like he's one of those people that needs that big screen treatment. And I
Hmm.
also want to do a plug in addition to this terrific book, The Honorary Mitchum Boys. Also, my friend and colleague Alan Brody wrote a book about the making of the Western Blood on the Moon. And as Cindy and I were talking about, yeah, you can buy these online, but try to support a brick and mortar independent bookstore because we need those. I don't want to live in a world where those don't exist. So
no,
please try
not at
to.
all. No, Blood on the Moon was Dad's favorite film of Bob's, by the way. And I told Alan that. Dad thought Bob did just a superb job in that.
It's going on the top of my list when we're done here.
Now you got to come up with a cocktail for that.
I know, I do. I need to do more Mitchum on the block. I have done a fair amount. I did, like I said, Holiday Affair and Night of the Hunter and Heaven Knows Mr. Allison, but I definitely
Look,
need to add
look,
to
you
this.
can do El Dorado
Oh, yeah. I,
with Wayne and Bob and Dad and come up with a cocktail for those
I
three.
would, and I love that part in your book, in the book, and it said, like, they talked about John Wayne. I have a thing about collecting classic film actors' records, like actors that you didn't know put out an album. Like, I love discovering those. So there was a picture of John Wayne's album in there. I think it was America the Beautiful or something.
American Pie Lover.
Well, okay, America Wild. I'm like, all right, I need to get that one next. So I will definitely put El Dorado on my list too.
Yeah, no, that, as you referenced in the book, that came about when Dad was filming Chisholm.
Mm.
And Forrest Tucker was a dear, dear friend of Dad's, and they had gone way, way back, and they were in F Troop together. And Forrest came up to Dad and he said, because he was from Chicago, and few people knew that Forrest Tucker had a beautiful voice and did nightclub acts. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
And so he said, John, I hate the song Chicago, Chicago. That everybody, I want my own version. And he said, a friend of mine sent me this. Would you look at it? And Dad looked at it and just didn't say anything. And Tucker said, I knew it's bad. Dad said, it's not bad. It's just not you. So Dad said, I'll tell you what, I'll write you one. So he wrote a song and called Tucker back in about a half an hour and came over and Dad sang it for him. And he gave it to Forrest Tucker. So Forrest said, what else have you been doing down here? And Dad recited a poem that he wrote when he saw the American flag being burned in Central Park. And it's called Why Are You Marching, Son? And Tucker said, get it, we're going to go back on set. So they went back to the set, and John Wayne was playing chess with my cousin Chris. I know you don't like to be disturbed doing chess, but you got so Dad recited Why Are You Marching, Son? And Wayne started to cry. So Forrest Tucker's the one who said, if it means that much to you, do something about it. And right there, Wayne shook Dad and he said, "But I want to do an album of your poetry." And it
It looks like she's frozen here.
Frozen, yeah.
But when it did, it sold
Oh,
100,000
oh.
copies the first weekend it was out, and Dad was nominated for a Grammy for it. And
Wow.
now we don't have a national poem. We have a national fungus and a national rock, but we don't have a national poem. So on September 11th, an event is being held in the Palm Springs area, a gala luncheon for my dad to make America Why I Love Her our official national poem.
Hmm.
So that's how that all came about.
Wow.
But it's a pretty powerful album. Did you know that Ken Curtis has an album out?
I did not.
Ken Curtis used to sing with the Sons of the Pioneers.
Hmm.
He had a magnificent tenor voice. And he called Dad up one day and said that they wanted to do an album with Ken singing, but they wanted to do one track as Festus. And he said, "Well, I'll do it under one condition, and that's John Mitchum writes whatever it is that Festus says." So Dad said, "Okay, well, what do you want me to write about?" And Ken said, "I don't rightly know." And Dad said, "Well, in the show, you ride a big mule, but his name is Ruth. How come?" He said, "I don't know that either." So Dad wrote a piece called Ode to a Mule that Ken Curtis recorded and as Festus. And you can't listen to it without a handkerchief. I still cry when I hear it. It is so beautiful. And then Lauren Green recorded one of Dad's poems called All the Pretty Horses.
Hmm.
So Dad did all kinds of things on albums that you
Yes.
might like to
Yes.
research and find. And then Dad did another album with Dan Blocker because of Uncle Bob,
Mhm.
a thing called Our Land, Our Heritage. And Dad did the research on all of these folk songs that Dan Blocker read the narration, and Dad sang with the Ken Darby Choir behind him. So that's a magnificent album you need to find.
All right. We've got so many good recommendations here from this episode.
Guys, I've got like literally about 10 minutes left, and then I have to go to work today. So,
Yeah.
I want to go around the room here virtually. If any final thoughts on Robert Mitchum, and where can people find you? So, where can they get your books, get your magazine? Just plug anything you'd like to plug. Liz, you want to start first?
I'll just start. I'm always at cinemasips.com. I do a cocktail and movie pairing every Monday, and then I also write for Movie John. So I feature, well, I did the Trouble with Angels cocktail in this Movie John issue. It was all about cinematic nuns, but you can find a reference to Heaven Knows Mr. Allison in this issue. And then our latest one is the hotel issue, which is fantastic. And then I also have this book I'll plug one more time, Follow the Sun. Love story set in the 1960s about the 60s jet set and featuring a folk singer. So it kind of ties in a bit to what we were just talking about. So yeah, cinemasips.com is the best way to find me. And I'll pass it over to Rosalie since I talked about Movie John a lot.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that you had a movie John with you, because I meant to bring one and then I had all of my supplies for the cooking out. So Movie John is a quarterly print movie magazine, and I am the editor-in-chief. And every quarter we pick a different theme. And as Liz mentioned, our current issue is all about cinematic hotels. And I was trying to remember if there was a hotel movie featuring Robert Mitchum, but one is not coming to mind. Um, I feel he was in a lot of like
Macau?
resorty type settings, though.
Yeah, Macau, when he was down in Mexico,
Hmm.
Yep,
that
yep,
was set in a hotel room.
yeah. Um, So if you are interested in the magazine, you can go to moviejawn.com, and that's JAWN. And then you can find us too on Instagram at moviejawn. I'm on there too if you want to search for me, Rosalie Kicks. But I absolutely loved this. Thank you so much, Carrie, for inviting me, and Liz. I will report back on how my chili turns out. We're going to try it tonight. It's going to be our dinner. So I will let you know.
Send me
I'm
photos,
looking.
everybody, of your drinks, your
Yeah.
chili.
Yes.
And Cindy, you have the last word.
Oh, wonderful. We are currently updating our website, but it's simply going to be johnmitchum.com. And as you mentioned, Honorary Mitchum Boys can be found at all the local online venues, but please remember your local bookstore and ask them for it. The CD that I did, because Ernest Borgnine and A.C. Lyles told me I had to, and you don't argue with those two gentlemen, is a tribute CD for my dad. And Ernie said that all of Dad's friends needed to pick their favorite poem or song and record it. And I didn't ask any of them to do it. There's 53 tracks on that with Ernie Borgnine, Jane Russell, and Ann Jeffries, Ann Rutherford, Herb Jeffries, um, James Drury the Virginian. Robert Duvall recorded America Why I Love Her with the Sons of the Pioneers. There's a lot of voices from the past that are in there that I gave one to Buck Taylor and he cried because he said that, to hear all of his old friends was just wonderful. So that is on johnmitchum.com. And I'm on Facebook as me.
Well, Cindy, this was such an honor. I have been hoping we could do this for ages. This will not be the last. There is
No,
plenty
well,
more Mitchum to be
there's,
had.
there's, there's lots of Mitchum to go around.
Lots of love to go. So, absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I do have a Patreon. All donations from that go to buy grocery money because food is so expensive these days. But I'm just so grateful to everybody who watches this, and it's such a joy to do these episodes. So please stay tuned, everybody, for more food, fun, and film history from Hollywood Kitchen.
Thank you for having me, Carrie. It
Thank
was a
you.
Thank
blast.
you so
I'll
much,
see you next
everybody.
time I get to LA.
Okay,
Yes, let me know next
bye-bye.
time you're in LA.